Try to imagine the absolute terror a 10-year-old boy would have experienced after waking up in the morning and coming out of his room, only to find everyone in his family dead. Everyone but him. His father, mother, and 3 older brothers were all lying in a pool of their blood. The story we'll be talking about today is so heartbreaking and frightening, it might leave you questioning if those whom you love the most are truly safe to be around. Jonathan Candi's family looked just like any other normal American family. Some people might even describe them as a fitting image of the all-American family next door. They were a family of 4 boys and 2 parents. Everything looked very normal. No one would have ever expected anything strange was going on behind the closed doors of the Candi family home.
At this point, I just wish the nightmare would be over. I wish it was all a bad dream, and that we would wake up and that they would still be here.
Jonathan Candi's family looked just like any other normal American family. Some people might even describe them as a fitting image for the all-American family next door. They were a family of 4 boys and 2 parents. Everything looked very normal in this family. No one would have ever expected anything strange was going on behind the closed doors of the Candi family's home.
I had to see it for myself. I kept asking Cooper to please snap and text Ethan, and has he seen Ethan today? Has he talked to him? And I was calling Lindsay, and I was messaging Dylan, and nobody would respond.
They were your all-American family. This is something, I mean, I could live 100,000 lifetimes and never expect this out of that.
I could have never imagined that ever in my whole entire life, you know? And I'm still in shock.
Their neighbors, who saw and interacted with them almost every day, never suspected anything horrible could happen. An interview with the couple back in 2022 about one of their favorite bakeries in Yukon during a local television segment showed them to be a young, vibrant, and happy family.
I come here twice a week in the morning just for their breakfast burritos, which are by far anything better than you can get around here. I love the carrot cake. I don't eat a lot of sweets, even with my last name, but I love the carrot cake.
I like the cannoli. The cannoli are good.
They laughed together, shared their favorite meals, and gave no hints of the darkness that would later unfold. It's a tragedy that they are all gone now, leaving just the youngest son. The darkest part of the story isn't even the fact that they were all murdered. It would have been easier and less painful to understand if an armed intruder broke in during the night and murdered them in cold blood. But that wasn't the case. The person who killed the wife and 3 children and then turned the weapon on himself was Jonathan Candi, not a stranger. Not an outsider. The man who was meant to love and protect them was the one who took their lives. Jonathan Candi was a 42-year-old man from Yukon, Oklahoma. He worked part-time at the Paycom Center, a large arena in the area that hosted concerts and sports events. Although he just worked part-time, his jokes and laughs always brought life to the arena. He was a husband to Lindsay Candi, a woman who had grown up in Prague, Oklahoma. They had been married for years, raising 4 sons together. Their social media pages were filled with pictures of family vacations, birthdays, and happy moments. To anyone on the outside, they seemed like a loving and supportive couple with a beautiful family. No history of abuse, no records of domestic violence, no known struggles. Until the unthinkable happened. On April 22nd, 2024, the youngest son stepped out of his room, expecting it to be like any other day. He had slept through the night with a box fan blowing in his direction, drowning out any noises from the house. The only thing he remembered hearing was the fire alarm that went off during the night, but he had gone back to sleep thinking nothing of it. Then, at 9:30 a.m., he picked up the phone and dialed 911, telling the dispatcher that his entire family was dead. When police arrived at the Candi home, they were shocked by what they saw: a massacre. Jonathan Candi had shot and killed his wife, Lindsay, along with their 3 sons, 18-year-old Dylan, 14-year-old Ethan, and 12-year-old Lucas. He then turned the gun on himself. The only survivor was the 10-year-old boy who made the 911 call. The question on everyone's mind was, why? Why did this happen? Investigators discovered that 2 of the victims' bodies were found upstairs, while the other 2 were downstairs. There were no signs of a struggle. It was as if Jonathan methodically hunted them down one by one. But why did he spare his youngest son? Did he come to his senses at the last moment? Was there a special bond between them? These are questions that may never have answers. Dr. Joni Johnston, a clinical and forensic psychologist, found the entire case disturbing. She stated that in cases like this, it's unusual for the killer to spare just one child.
But something may have happened. He kills his wife and several of his kids, and then just decides to kill himself, kind of to get out of it.
One possibility, I mean, there's so many possibilities, and I think one of them that I've thought about is it's possible that he kills his wife in the heat of some altercation. They're having some argument, and he, for whatever reason, just loses it, shoots her several times, kills her, and that is not premeditated. And there is no history of depression or those things that we're talking about. And then starts thinking that I can't leave my kids to face this. You know, I could not bear the thought of my children knowing that that I murdered their mother, their father is a murderer, or I'm going to kill myself, and I can't bear the thought of my kids being left with no parents.
In most murder-suicide cases, everyone present is usually a casualty, but Jonathan left his youngest son alive. Was it guilt? A moment of hesitation? Or was there something else we don't know? Investigators searched for any possible motives: financial troubles, marital problems, mental health issues. Nothing obvious stood out. There were no reports of domestic violence, no indications of prior threats. The only thing that stood out was that Jonathan had attended an Oklahoma City Thunder playoff game just hours before the murders. No one noticed anything strange about his behavior that night. He was the same man they had always known, cheerful, outgoing, and full of jokes. But something snapped, something changed, and in the hours that followed, an entire family was wiped out. Police examined the scene closely and determined that the weapon used was a handgun registered in Jonathan's name. There were no signs of forced entry, and the house showed no evidence of an outside attack. The crime appeared to be carefully executed, suggesting that Jonathan had planned the murders in advance. Forensic specialists reported that each victim was shot multiple times, indicating a possible element of rage or deep emotional turmoil behind the killings. Authorities interviewed Jonathan's friends and co-workers, looking for signs of distress that he may have displayed in the days leading up to the murders. One of his colleagues mentioned that Jonathan had been unusually quiet and withdrawn at work, but had brushed off concerns when asked about his well-being. Further investigation revealed that Jonathan had recently withdrawn large sums of money from his bank account. Some speculate he may have been facing financial difficulties, but no official records confirm this theory. Additionally, his internet search history included disturbing topics related to family annihilation and murder-suicide, leading authorities to believe he had contemplated his actions for some time before carrying them out. Lindsay's childhood friend, Cami Cruz, shared memories of her on Facebook after hearing the news. They had grown up together, sang in the church choir, and made innocent childhood memories. She described Lindsay as a woman who was fiercely loved by her boys, always full of laughter, always bringing warmth to those around her. Dylan Candi, the eldest son, had just graduated from high school in 2023. He was a passionate drummer and played in his university's marching band. His band director described him as a kind-hearted young man who always put others first. A memorial display was set up in his honor. Ethan Candi was the second son, a ninth-grade student who was known for his love of baseball. His coach described him as energetic, talented, and always committed to the game. His friends are still struggling to process his loss. A memorial bench has been placed at the Mustang Youth Sports Complex in his honor. Lucas Candi, the youngest victim, was only 12 years old. He was full of life, always playing outdoors, always making new friends. Now, his laughter will never be heard again. The only survivor, the youngest son, now faces a future without his parents and siblings. A child who should have been playing with his brothers will now grow up with the memory of that horrific morning. He has been placed in the care of extended family members, and the community has come together to support him. Social workers are ensuring he receives the psychological help he needs. A GoFundMe campaign has been set up for his future. Investigators continue searching for answers. They want to understand what led to this tragedy. Was it hidden depression? A moment of uncontrollable rage? A financial crisis that no one knew about? Whatever the reason, the damage has been done, and a family is gone forever. This case is a grim reminder that mental health struggles can sometimes be well hidden. Those who seem the happiest on the outside may be battling silent demons. If you or anyone you know is struggling, seek help. There is always another way. We've come to the end of today's video. Stay tuned for more stories of the most twisted cases ever. Don't leave without hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already. See you in the next video.